Hi, my name is Lena and welcome to my channel. Let's talk about the books I read in November. So let's start with Shaketube, the Shakespeare read-along. And we read 5 plays: Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, Antony and Cleopatra, and The Tempest. And I have 5 separate videos about them. I also did a buddy read with Richardson Reads. I will leave a link to his channel into info box. I myself feel that everybody is subscribed to Steve Donahue and to Richardson Reads channel, but just in case you are not, feel free to go there and check this channel out because it's a wonderful channel. He has huge library and he does videos about that. And my personal favorite videos are not about his library, but texts and book discussions. The book we read together, it was Dragonflight, the first book in Dragonriders of Pern series by McCaffrey, and I have 4 separate videos telling how much I liked this book, and I liked it very much. It's high-paced, it's entertaining, it's very interesting, it's sci-fi about dragons, and in this book you got to ride a dragon. It's a very good book. The romance is done very well, not over the top. I like this book very much. It was entertaining. I never was bored. So then, non-fiction. I have read 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Huff, and it's tiny book. I enjoy it very much. I wanted it to be at least for 500 pages. It's a compilation of letters between Helen Huff and a bookshop on the 84 Charing Cross Road, where she ordered her books. This correspondence starts before World War. It continues World War II, continues during World War II and after World War II. They start very formal, these letters, but with the time they become quite, I think, cordial, and I like the humor. And I like this from Helen Huff part, and this a bit of restricted behavior from the employee of the shop, of Frank Doyle. It's a very delightful little thing. But mine, it was made like print on demand. So I guess it was scanned from the original book, and nobody actually checked the text. I'm sorry. So several times Frank Doyle calls himself Prank Doyle, and I don't think it will in his character. So it kind of spoiled experience for me just a little bit. It made this book more funny, but at the same time a bit spoiled this experience. I like this book very much, and as I said, I wish it were at least 500 pages. Then I read an essay about Venice, Watermark, by Joseph Brodsky, and at first I hated this book. I hated it. I was very, very disagreeable, unpleasant towards the book and the author, because I thought that he couldn't get over the fact how genius he is. But then I understood that it's his own perception of Venice, his own unique point of view, and he makes some very unique and strange associations and draws some very strange parallels. And I have been to Venice. I spent there just 2 days. It wasn't enough. It isn't enough. And I don't know much about Venice to appreciate this book. I think people who know more about Venice will like it more, and I will certainly reread it sometime in the future with being more nice towards the book and the author. It's totally normal that we can have some very different point of view, and that his association and his parallels will be can be very strange to me. Bits and pieces of it, when he actually talked about Venice, not about himself and his life experience, or about um, people he met there, when he talks about Venice, these bits are wonderful. I like them. So next, sorry, is Encyclopedia of War History, Greece and Rome. I haven't read even half of it, and I won't be reading it next year, I think. So I think I will finish the bit that is telling about Greece and Alexander the Great and Macedonia. Sorry, guys, because it's encyclopedia. It's full of data, but it's not enough. We don't spend enough time with all this data, with all these stories to remember them, to understand them better. For example, to Alexander himself, they give this spread. Oh no, 2 spreads. And to tell the truth, this book made me want to put it aside and to read these books. For example, Alexander the Great. This book, I missed it in Moscow, and I was on a holiday trip in Prague, and I bought this book in Prague, but I haven't read it. I don't know why. And another book with a movie cover. I haven't read this one as well. And this one was translated from French. It's by Paul Faure. And I'm not extremely enthusiastic about this book because I have, let's say, 2 pages of the complaints that translator makes. So he points out, using comma, all the factual mistakes of the book. So I'm not very enthusiastic about this one. And these 2 books, one by Fisher Fabian. I'm sorry, guys, it's I won't even. Oh, it was translated from German. A book about Alexander the Great, and book about the death of Alexander the Great was translated from English. It's by Paul Doherty. So these books would be reads for me, although I don't remember much. It's strange, but I read all the books about Alexander the Great that I could find in my local library, or some of them that I bought. And I read all of them as fiction. I read all of them as fiction about Alexander the Great. So, strangely enough, I never felt need to put him on the map, to follow all his to follow his tracks on the map. Sorry, guys. But this book, it has actually very, very good maps. And thanks to this book, I followed him, Alexander and his army, on the map. And I intend to read these books, new books, and read old books, and I don't know, find all the details and reconstruct it for myself. At the same time, Steve Donahue always says that we will be dead in 10 minutes, and I am kind of reluctant to give the entire year to Alexander the Great. I'm sorry, guys, because this book contains also a part about Italy, and the final part is about Rome, and I suppose Rome is very, very interesting theme, and I suppose it's very well documented theme. As I understood from this encyclopedia, the sources we have about Alexander the Great, the closest sources for his time, they are actually secondary sources, or maybe even third sources. So I don't suppose we have much facts about him. That's maybe why I read all the books as fiction. Then I intended to read essays about Erasmus of Rotterdam, but I read only 2 essays. They are not exactly about Erasmus. First one is very short thing about the way he influenced artists, painters. For example, Dürer. And the second is about his about pictures of Erasmus himself, all that exists. So it wasn't about him himself. I will continue to read this book, but not in the month of December, not in December. And to understand it better, maybe to interest myself in it, I read a very short introduction to the Praise of Folly. Basically, it's a very, very short history of Erasmus himself. How come that he went to Italy, went to France, and so forth. So I will continue. I also dubbed my tour into the Praise of Folly itself. So that's all. It's not much. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and happy reading.